My friends, tonight I want to speak plainly with you about a new fear, an old struggle, and the kind of country we choose to be when the question comes to our own doorstep. Because in homes across America, a rule is now on the table. A rule that would force families with children born here, who know no land but this one, to leave the only safe roof they have, not because of a crime, not even because of anything done by the children, but because sometimes someone in the family does not have the right paper in hand. Let's be clear about what's at stake. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, as many know it, has proposed a new rule. If anyone in a household is undocumented, the entire family could lose its place in public housing. Millions of Americans have lined up for help because rents are high, wages are tight, and finding a home is harder than ever. Now about 24,000 households already here, many with U.S. citizen children, may find the rules changed overnight. Picture a family sitting in a kitchen as the evening news plays quietly. There is a knock at the door. The parents listen to new rules about housing and wonder if tomorrow they may be told to leave. These are not just numbers. This means up to 80,000 people. Mothers, fathers, grandparents, and about 37,000 kids who were born here may have to pack their things. Picture a child's bedroom at sunrise, the shoes by the bed, drawings taped to the wall, a world of comfort and safety held together by four walls and a door. It's easy to say, let's follow the law, let's protect our own. That can sound right, especially when times are hard. But when we look close, the line between our own and the neighbor down the hall starts to blur. These families already pay more rent. When someone is undocumented, they get no subsidy. So these parents dig deeper, sharing what they have, doing their part. Imagine a playground just after school lets out. Children laughing, some running games, others sitting on the steps. Some of these children are citizens. Some of them are not. But all feel the wind, the sun, and a hunger for home. Who sees a difference as they play? Many say this is about fairness. There are Americans waiting years for help, folks struggling from paycheck to paycheck. That's true. Our housing crisis is real, and it does not care what papers we carry. But pushing families onto the street will not open a door for others. What it may do is fill our shelters, stretch our safety nets, and place more at risk. Think of a city block in Los Angeles, just before dusk. Crowded apartments, light in windows, young people doing homework at the kitchen table, while tired parents look for good news in the paper. We've seen times like this before. In the depths of the Depression, there were calls to close the doors of hope to some, to pull away help in the name of order. But the American answer then, and the answer now, must be bigger. It must be hopeful. It must remember the child on the stoop, the worker on shift, and the mother with tired hands. There is worry, too, about what rules like this do to trust in our system. Will local housing officers become immigration agents? Will neighbors turn on neighbors, or fill in paperwork not for help, but for fear? These questions do not live in headlines alone. They show up in every anxious glance, every quiet meal, every silent prayer at bedtime. Picture the waiting room of a town housing office. A mother fills out forms under a flickering light, a child beside her clutching a school folder, both wondering if the next answer given will close a door, not open it. Let's remember, too, that debate is part of our promise. HUD has asked for public comment. People of every mind and every background have a right and a duty to speak up, to say, this is what I believe our country stands for. Sometimes, speaking up is the truest act of citizenship. I am not here to cast blame. There are those who believe honestly that aid must be saved for those who follow every rule. But history has seen this before. America's strength is her unity, not her suspicion. When we let fear rule, we find it hard to build a common life. Imagine Main Street in a small town at sunrise. Shops opening, church bells ringing, the flag lifting just above the roofline. The first wave of workers waits for the bus. Some were born just steps away. Some came far, searching for better days. Each one has a stake in what we do now. Let's talk for a moment about what stands behind all this. A shortage that hurts us all, native and newcomer alike. Only 1 out of every 4 people in need is able to find help. We do not have enough homes. That is the true crisis. Kicking families out will not build a single new house or lower a single rent. In the days of the New Deal, we faced fear with building, not with eviction. We did not ask, who belongs, but who needs help to stand. We put up homes, not walls. We hired builders, not more guards. That spirit, practical and kind, built the towns where our children still play. Picture a construction crew at work beneath a wide blue sky. The sound of hammers, the laughter of workers, hope rising board by board. And so I ask, what future do we seek? One where every child, no matter her last name or her parents' status, finds shelter from the storm? Or one in which whole families must pack and leave for breaking a rule they did not make, for papers they never saw? Think now of a school classroom, the flag in one corner, children reciting the pledge. Each one belongs in the vision our country set forth. The Republic can be saved, but not by turning inwards, not by pitting neighbor against neighbor. We must meet this crisis together in the steady way that built our bridges, fed our hungry, and wrote the next chapter for all Americans. Now, let's take a calm look at our choices. Each of us, right now, has a role. Whether you live in a big city, a small town, or a quiet place between, how we respond will help set the shape of our country's heart. Start with asking who we are, not just what we fear. America's greatness was built by those who reached out, not because it was easy, but because it was right. We have always been a people who mend fences, not break them, who share fire at the hearth, not shut the door on a cold night. Picture a family gathering at the dinner table. Bread is passed, stories are shared. Somewhere, an uncle worries about work. A younger sister dreams of school and a better life. They do not ask one another for proof or papers at that table. They care for each other because that is what it means to be family in America. Not only those who share a name, but anyone who shares the shelter of our flag and the hope of our land. Think of the block parties in summer, neighbors in folding chairs, sharing lemonade and talk about the day's news. Kids dart between grills, and no one stops to ask for documents before handing out a hamburger. That is America at its best. Welcoming, simple, decent. I hear those who worry. They say, if we help too many, there won't be enough for my family. Such fear is old as the nation, and it always returns in hard times, yet history has seen this before. When the Irish came, when the Germans came, when waves of families arrived from every shore, there were voices to say, there is not enough room. And still, room was made. In truth, what makes us strong is not locking the doors, but building a bigger table. America's greatness is kindness turned into policy, dreams made possible by steady hands and open hearts. Picture a Sunday morning at a small church on the prairie, pews filled with families who traveled different paths, singing the same song, each praying that their children might be safe and free. The rule now proposed may seem small on paper, a change in who is counted and who is not. But in practice, it is a shadow that falls across the dinner table, a chill that enters the nursery, a worry that sits in the passenger seat as a parent drives her children to school. The choice is not between enforcing our laws and showing mercy. The true choice is whether our laws reflect the best in us or the worry of the moment. Laws are not meant to divide families or punish children because the system is slow or confusing. Laws should serve people, not the other way round. Remember this: every time we faced fear, America grew by choosing hope. Not because it was safe, not because it was easy, but because it was right. Imagine a shelter late at night. Families arrive with garbage bags, carrying the last of what was once a home. Volunteers bring out mats and blankets. In the faces of the children you see tired hope. We ask ourselves, is this who we want to be? For each child told to leave public housing because of a parent's paperwork, there is a classmate who loses a friend, a teacher who loses a bright voice in the room, a future falcon or tiger who plays one less season on the field. America's greatness is not in scarcity, but in care. Our prosperity has never grown by shutting out the needy or telling children, you must earn your bed. Instead, it is built by including the lost and giving everyone a fair chance to stand up and try. Think of the first apartments built with New Deal dollars. Sturdy brick walls, flowers planted in the yard, parents standing a little taller because, at last, home meant something they could count on. We must ask ourselves, what does security mean? Is it the quiet that comes when we know only those exactly like us remain? Or does security grow from ties of trust, shared future, and knowing that the child next door, however she arrived, is part of tomorrow's America? Many who support stricter rules mean well. They want order, responsibility, respect for the nation's laws. These are worthy aims, but we cannot build order on fear or fairness on the suffering of children. The facts are clear. Taking families out of public housing will not solve the crisis of too few homes, and it may deepen the trouble by putting more people in harm's way. Picture a city bus in the dawn hours. Workers heading to jobs that wait for no man. The driver greets each person by name, knowing their lives are all tangled together. Neighbor helping neighbor keep the city working. As citizens, our job is not to close our ears to worry. It is rather to face it with steadiness, ask hard questions, and demand answers that match our values. America does not have to choose between compassion and common sense. We must seek both. If we are to move forward, we must start with honesty about the strain on families, about the real shortage, about the duty to use our public funds well. But let's remember that solving problems begins at the root. More evictions will not bring more homes. New barriers will not build trust. Instead, we can look to American solutions. Invest in more affordable housing, bring down rents with fair laws, strengthen the hand of local planners and civic groups, encourage kindness rather than suspicion in our public offices. Picture a ribbon cutting at a newly finished apartment building. Local leaders hand a key to a young mother as her children dash in ahead, calling out room by room, laughter ringing in a space once empty. Think, too, of the good we can do by working together. Landlords who offer dignity, social workers who see each family's story, churches that open fellowship halls for shelter when storms come, neighbors who bring over food and welcome new faces. None of this is to say there are easy answers. Housing is scarce, times are hard. But America never was built on choosing the easy road. We rise by walking together, steady, honest, and brave. In coming weeks, the country will talk about this rule. You may find yourself in a hard conversation over coffee, at the gas pump, in the voting booth. Remember, the Republic can be saved not just by grand speeches, but by each citizen's word, each act of kindness, each time we see us a little larger than before. America's strength is her unity. When we come together, not by hiding our differences, but by holding true to our shared promise, then no door will close that cannot be opened. Picture a school at dusk, a custodian sweeping the quiet halls, on the bulletin board, a mural made by every class, signed by children of every background and flag. Each square bright, each story different, all part of one larger whole. So tonight I ask you, before the next news cycle, before the next argument, pause. Look at your own life, your neighbors, your town. Where can you lend a hand? Where can you speak up for what's right? Sometimes it is as simple as listening, truly listening to those who are most afraid. If you have the power, use it with care. If you have a voice, speak for those who may lose theirs. To the leaders in our cities, our states, our nation, use your office not to divide, but to heal. Remember that every vote, every rule, is written on the lives of real people, children, parents, neighbors, hoping, as we all do, for safety, for shelter, for the quiet dignity of a home. For our nation is not made strong by the size of our walls, but by the breadth of our welcome and the justice of our laws. We have a choice, to be the land that opens its doors to those in need, or the land that bars them with a new rule. Which do you wish to tell your grandchildren you chose? The road ahead will not be easy, but it is the American path, full of work, yes, but also of hope. Let us turn not on each other, but toward each other. Let us build, not blame. Let doubt spur us to question and to do better. not to retreat in fear. Tonight I pledge, as your neighbor, as your fellow citizen, that the country we love can hold true if we hold together. The Republic can be saved. And so, I leave you with this question. When future generations look back at our time, will they say that we sent more children into the night, or that, when it mattered, we stood up, quietly, firmly, kindly, and kept the promise of home for all? Good night, my friends, and may we find the courage to choose wisely together.